Hello and welcome to Card Shop Insiders, a podcast where we combine decades of experience from both sides of the counter to take you inside the business of local game stores and collectible gaming hobbies. I'm Noah, and I play games, lots of them.
Hi, I'm John. I'm a card shop owner and a veteran of this industry for about 25 years.
All right, well, with our combined perspective, we're ready to jump inside and take you guys in to the news. So, John,
What?
got any good news this week?
Bloomsboro.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. We've ever since it released, we've done drafts for 3 weeks in a row. The first week we had 19 players. The second week we had 21 players. Last Friday night we had 23 players. And a couple of the players that normally come in didn't come in that night. We could have easily had 26 to 28, which is really double the size that we normally get for a draft. So Bloomsboro does very well, and it's in short supply right now. My distributor, I was talking to Jake the other day, and what I did was Friday, when I knew it was going to be hot, I almost ran out of product. I got on their website and I got 12 more boxes coming in tomorrow. But some of the bigger stores around here are out of it completely and they can't get it. However, they are coming up with another reprint or another wave of it. And Jake said, of course, it's going to be allocated as far as the good stuff that's coming out. The good stuff being the collector boosters, because they sold out Friday night. I had 3.5 boxes and they sold very quickly, which is good.
I think it's awesome. It's a good product. It's really good to have, the staple long-term products have success with a new set. One of the things, since we're staying on Magic for a second, there was a comment made by Mark Rosewater, I believe, the head designer of Magic, where he said that it's possible that they may reprint some of the Lord of the Rings cards that are like really popular for play, like the One Ring or Orcish Bowmasters. And I wondered how that's going to possibly affect the market for those cards. The secondary market for sealed product in that is still kind of on fire.
I wonder if they're going to do any serialized cards with the reprint.
He didn't say that they were going to reprint Lord of the Rings.
Okay.
He said that they might reprint some of the cards.
Oh, just the cards. Okay.
Yeah. What did he say? He said Wizards of the Coast could either be reprinting the cards or possibly make new in-universe equivalents to step around the licensing problem of having to reprint like a Lord of the Rings themed card. But they may make some sort of alternate printing that has the same effects for the game, which is an interesting thing because you've got people pouring money into collecting and getting these cardboard cards that are worth $50, $100, and then MTG just decides to reprint it.
Do you think it's going to affect the One Ring that Post Malone bought for $2 million?
I don't think it'll ever affect that one. That's serialized. It's a 1 of 1, right? Mm-hmm. I think it also probably won't affect the Dwarven and Elvish language cards that they printed that were unique and serialized. But I think, people that are sitting on or have stocked up on foil or expanded art cards from the One Ring or the Orcish Bowmasters or some of the other big name cards that have been staples of formats like Modern or Commander, I think they may be affected by things like a reprint.
It's interesting. Speaking of reprints, I've got 2 displays of Fallout Commander coming, which was very hot, and we couldn't get it for a while because it was not available. And Wizards sent us an email about a month ago that the distributors didn't even know it, that they were offering, hey, contact your distributor because they're going to be getting more of the Fallout. And the Fallout that they got was they didn't get it. They didn't get that memo. So finally they got it, and I got 2 displays coming in tomorrow.
That's kind of good.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on from Magic. A little bit of Lorcana news. You got some details. We're going to have another set championship because they just released another set.
Yeah. The store championship, they sent us an email the other day. Naturally, we're qualified again, which is
fantastic.
good. and they're going to send out more information. We have to publish it on an event on Melee like we normally did. And the information is supposed to come out September 3rd for us to do it. We have until the 20th in order to complete it. And it's either Friday or Saturday during the month of October. So we have to pick a date, when we want to do it.
Yep. Well, we'll get that scheduled. It's really exciting. It's great to continue to be recognized as an organized play store for purposes of Lorcana. I think the new set's got some cool stuff, and it'll be nice to have another one of those tournaments. So,
I agree.
You also had I know last time we spoke, you had a week delay on getting the supplementary products from the new set release, the playmats and stuff.
Of course.
But you did get those.
I did. They did not send any deck boxes this time.
Yeah.
But they sent sleeves.
They're top quality sleeves.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's why Top Quality made my decision to only get 6 each of them. They wanted to give me 20 of each of them, and I said, no, I'm only taking 6.
So what, if they labeled your account like low priority?
I don't care. I'm not, it's not going to just sit on the shelf and do nothing. I'm not going to, buy the stuff if I know I can't sell it. However, they did send me 3 of the Belmat playmat and 4 of the other one, which was good because normally it was only 1 and 1.
Yeah.
So
I was shocked when I came in on Saturday and you had a stack of playmats in there.
Yeah. And I did turn down a box of starters because I got 3, and the starters are starters.
Yeah.
And at the league this time, I did not require people to buy a starter.
These starters have a pack in them.
They do. However, they need more of an incentive to be able to sell it. They got to come up with something different. Put an exclusive card in it or something that you can only get in the starters or something like that. And then it will sell. It should have hit retail by now too. So I'm not sure how retail is doing. Retail being the big box stores.
Yeah.
If they're sold out, that's fine. But I also turned down some troves. I had 6 more troves that I could have gotten, and I turned it down. I still have a few from the initial shipment. And again, being a store owner that's very conservative as far as what he buys and what I think I could sell, I just don't need to spend all this money to have it sit on the shelf and ultimately not sell.
Yeah.
So that was my decision.
Well, I guess, so we've got a couple of new card games, Star Wars, Lorcana, One Piece, and they kind of have all followed a similar pattern so far, right?
Yeah.
A hot release, big excitement, limited product availability, frustrated customers, delay.
And it sucks all the air out of the excitement. That's the problem.
Now, Lorcana's on the front end. So now they're in oversupply surplus because they pumped up production for sets 4 and 5. Star Wars is going to probably be overproduced for set 3 from what they're talking about. And then One Piece will follow suit.
It serves them right. The hell with them.
When they hit their next pattern, or next print run, they'll print too much. And then they'll be trying to pawn it off on you guys.
There's no way in hell. No way.
Want you to buy it all out.
No, I'm not going to do it.
There's been some discussion about, there was a social media thread yesterday for Lorcana. We've talked about the fact that I think that the enchanted cards are a big part of why the product demand has gone down. The quality of the enchanted cards and the dollar value that goes with those cards has gone down. But apparently they've also had a lot of people have started complaining that they're not opening them at the frequency that it's published that they're supposed to come out. It's supposed to be 1 in every 72 packs, which is 3 boxes, which means that every case should have 2 enchanteds in it, right?
I think, that's right. Yeah.
And
every case should.
I mean, from what I understand.
No, there's only 4 to a case.
Oh, there's only 4 boxes
4
in a
boxes
case?
to a case.
So it's
theoretically 1, possibly 2.
Right. Because every 3 boxes, you should be hitting one.
Right.
Well, a lot of people are opening cases and not getting enchanteds of this set.
That's interesting.
And people that are getting enchanteds are getting the cheap ones, and they're not happy about it.
Can you blame them?
Well, I mean, I think it's a difficult situation. I think card gamers are spoiled in a different way, particularly by the MTG market. Magic produces all these alternate art fancy cards now, and you expect to get hits when you buy a $20 collector booster. People get hits, but we're talking about buying $7 normal boosters for a new card game,
Yeah.
and they've publicly said it's 1 in 72 packs, and it's an average. So they're like, you could go, 100 packs without hitting one.
Well, if they're doing that, they're shooting themselves in the foot because you got both players and collectors.
Yeah.
And that's what's driving the market. And if the collectors don't feel comfortable about getting good stuff, they're going to drop out.
I think you have to keep the collectors in the game.
Oh,
I mean,
definitely.
I think the competitive players know that they're going to go to their LGS or the TCG player to get singles to fill out their decks. People have the addiction to crack packs the first weekend, but then after that, like, they know that unless they're chasing enchanted cards, they're not ripping packs.
Mm-hmm.
And if they're not opening enchanted cards, they're not going to rip packs.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think the Star Wars, we talked about that for the first set. We barely saw any of the showcase cards for that. But
let's get into Star Wars.
Let's do it.
Star Wars, again, from the onset, it was really good. Then all of a sudden, because of product shortage, it's starting to drop down in demand. We used to get maybe 5 or 6 or more people come in on weekends to play. We're only getting a few now. Now, it's a possibility they're going to other stores that do competitive events. But because of the distribution setup, those competitive event people are going to be quickly running out of product. So I'm in good shape. I think, what do I have up there? A full case, plus about 3 or 4 boxes on the shelf, which will get me through. Even if they don't come out with another wave between now and Christmas, that'll get me through for my weekly play. And that's all I'm concerned about, is taking care of my regular customers.
Well, I think the issue, I had some more insight into this after we played this last weekend. I do think that a lot of the people that were coming into the store regularly to play are going to the other stores because they're able to get more product when they play in their competitive tournaments. So we come in for weekly play here, we get our 1-pack, we get our OP pack, and we get to play.
No, I offer them to buy a couple extra packs if they want.
But they can buy extra packs.
Right.
The people that play here, that are not playing here right now, think that they're going to win.
They're winning.
Yeah.
But they're paying to get into a competitive tournament too, which is probably double or more of what they're doing for the weekly league.
Yeah,
so
I don't know.
They're paying for the pack somehow, some way.
Next weekend, there's a big 1K tournament for Star Wars in Raleigh.
Okay.
And so I kind of expect that the guys won't be in again because they're probably going to go play in that.
Oh, I don't blame them.
And then several of them have talked about their aspirations to be competitive in the game. And we'd like to support that. And we appreciate that they're, trying to do well. But it's nice to have them come play in the shop too.
It is. And some of them don't belong playing in real competitive tournaments. I'm serious. Without getting into it, yeah, I see it.
Well, I think there's a big difference between playing against, the 6 knuckleheads that show up at your local store versus playing against 120 people that are trying hard to win $1,000.
Well, $1,000 split between 8 people, probably.
Well, and how much of it's in product?
Right. That's exactly it.
So I don't know. I didn't look at the prize payout for that, but that's for sure. Last weekend, there was a tournament that people went and played in. And my understanding is there's tournaments on Friday nights too that people are playing in. And so it sounded like, there's a good mix of people going and bouncing around trying to play in these more competitive tournaments. I know some people gave you a little bit of pressure to try to do more of a tournament thing or have prizing.
Yeah. I haven't decided what I want to do. I told him to gauge the market, talk to other people to see what they want to do. What I think I'm going to do in the long run is, I told you, Southern Hobby, because they're the distributor for it other than Asmodee, is going to come out with a second wave. They're sitting on product right now. I know they are. And it's going to be allocated. So I may get offered 4 more boxes or 6 more boxes. The case is 6, so it's probably going to be in a case slot of 6. It won't be 12. I can almost guarantee it. So if that comes out within the next couple of weeks, say the end of August, That means it's September, October, and November without reprints, because the reprint's not supposed to be coming until December. And there's no guarantee in December yet. So that's 3 months without additional product potentially coming in. So what I think I'm going to do is take whatever's offered to me and just sit on it.
Yeah. I mean, I think after these other stores start running out of product, people are going to come back here because you still got it.
Yeah, well, the thing in a nutshell is on the secondary market, everybody's doing the same thing. The prices are going to go up.
Yeah.
So fortunately, I can afford to sit on, 6 to 10 boxes. And that's what I plan on doing. See what happens.
Well, we'll see how that turns out. Let's jump over. I don't have any Yu-Gi-Oh news. To our Yu-Gi-Oh friends, I tried to find Yu-Gi-Oh news.
They had a regional or something like that, and it was in West Virginia, and they got less than 100 people.
That's because the World Championships is in like 2 weeks.
I know.
I mean, there's the people that are qualified for that. There's the people that are going to travel for that, for the side stuff. But
well, everybody's anticipating a ban the restricted list coming out within the next week or two.
Yeah.
So that's going to hold back attendance, which is fine. I mean, but Yu-Gi-Oh is still strong.
Yeah.
I saw on one of the threads here that a lot of the stores way back when relied on Saturday Yu-Gi-Oh tournaments to pay the rent. And that was in that Reddit thread that you put out for me to look at. And yeah, that's true. I mean, that is very, very true. And what else is doing well is One Piece. Now we had, what do we have, 7 people play One Piece.
Yep.
And there was a couple people from Lorcana that played in the One Piece event because it's later on in the afternoon. And I was able, as we talked about last week, I was able to get a couple more boxes of stuff. So I have stuff, not enough to sell on the shelf. However, people that come in the store, if they'll ask me, do you have any more that you want to sell? I'm doling it out for sale little by little, just to make sure that I have enough to sustain my tournaments till the next set comes out.
Yeah.
And my sales rep contacted me the other day from Alliance Games. Hey, do you want to put a pre-order in for the next set that's coming out? I said, sure, put me down for 12. Now, there's no guarantee, here we go again, that I'll get 12, but we'll see. It should be interesting if, again, going back to that questionnaire, because I ranted and raved on that questionnaire, if it had anything to do with Bandai saying to the distributors, hey, we got legitimate stores that can't get product. What the hell's going on? But I don't know.
Hopefully that's what worked.
I think so, but I have no way of ascertaining that.
All right. Well, I do have Pokemon news.
All right.
And we have a part of this news is a topic for conversation for us as a shop owner and a player here. So let me do the news part first, and then we'll talk about the discussion from this. But Pokemon Worlds was last weekend. Mm-hmm. At Worlds every year, they make big announcements about what's coming down the pipeline. So they did give us news for where the World Championships will be for the next 2 years. And they must have heard the podcast, John, because they understand that having it at a remote location or on an island is bad. And so they've decided to diversify. And they're going to do next year in Anaheim, California. Okay. And they'll do the year after in San Francisco, California.
That's not good. I mean, that's pretty damn stupid, too.
I thought you'd get a kick out of that.
Yeah, I mean, why do 2 on the West Coast? Yeah, do it in the middle of the country.
Well, not in the middle of this country.
Why not?
Well, they got to put it somewhere we want to travel to.
You want to go to San Francisco?
I've been there. It's not that cool.
No, it's not the coolest place, but, it's all right. But it's expensive. You get somebody coming from the West, the East Coast to the West Coast.
I'm just saying they could have picked, like, Jamaica.
They could have.
They could have.
Yeah, could have. But they could have picked some place like, New York or something like that.
Yeah.
Or, St. Louis or any place other than the West Coast, because
Australia would have been cool.
But it's an island.
It's an island. Technically, we're on an island, too.
No, we're not.
It's a really big island.
Well,
it is.
It's a landmass that's attached to whatever.
It's surrounded by water.
Well, whatever. Everything is
big
could
island.
be an island then.
Yeah. All right, so I thought that would get a good reaction out of you. The other thing they announced is that they're going to bring back popular trainers Pokemon cards, which is a card type that was heavily collected previously. And so I'm going to bet that the sets that come out in 2025 featuring the new trainers Pokemon cards are going to be really popular for collectors, especially.
Aren't they coming out with a new like Pokemon Go type thing too?
Yeah, there's a new digital game.
Right.
I still think there's a chance that all these companies are trying to push towards digital, but the new Pokemon TCG online replacement is they got some demo stuff. They got no gameplay demos, but they did do pack openings on the phone. They had mobile phones set up on stands, and you could crack digital packs. And the animations and the artwork are awesome, but it's not the same as cracking a pack on the table.
Getting back to San Francisco and Anaheim, California,
Yeah.
What made them decide that the remote location like Hawaii was not good? Is it because they didn't get a lot of attendance to it?
As far as I could tell, it was very well attended.
Was it? Or
Yeah.
was everybody that attended bitching it's costing too much damn money to come here?
I didn't see any complaining about that.
No, but I'm sure it's
I
out
saw
there.
a lot of pictures of people at the beach. Saw a lot of pictures of people with sunburn.
Yeah.
And I saw a lot of people that said that they were never happier to wash out of a tournament in their life because they got to go to the beach and a bar afterwards.
Well, it was a destination vacation then.
That's the point.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, they've done them in the last several years. It's been Hawaii, Japan, Spain, and London. I mean, those are pretty nice vacations for your average
Well,
nerd.
we're going to do 2 in the United States.
Yeah, we're going to double it up.
Yeah, on the West Coast.
It's been a while.
Okay. All right. Let's segue to something else.
Well, we got to stay on Pokemon for a second. So, big controversy of the weekend, though, comes from a 8 game where one of the players was DQ'd after the game because he made an inappropriate gesture.
Like this or something, whatever?
It was more vulgar than that one.
Oh, okay.
But he gave a gesture that was determined by the judges to have been an inappropriate gesture on the video stream. Oh. And because it was top 8, he won his match. And then he looked out in the crowd. He did a hand gesture that was vulgar. And then after he did the winner's interview, he was approached by the judges and told that he had been given a match loss for the gesture. And because it had happened in top 8, that's basically a DQ.
Is it in the rules?
So it is in the rules, and it's complicated because a lot of people on the internet have pulled up the rules and have read them, and there's a controversy about how it should have been applied. Mm-hmm. But I thought it brought up a good question about like safe play space and player conduct in competitive and casual play, like in your store. And so we've talked before about how you are willing to stop people and throw them out of the store if they're not being appropriate. But like in this situation, some people interpreted the hand gesture differently and didn't find it to be offensive. Some people who are probably more accurate believed it was a very juvenile and vulgar hand gesture.
How old was this guy?
Yeah, early 20s, I think.
Oh, that's typical.
I mean, I saw it. I read it first, and people said they thought he was pretending to roll dice. And then I saw the video, and I was like, that was not pretending to roll dice.
I'll have to look at the video. I really, somebody said something about it. So,
anyway, I don't think that's the point. My point is, though, for you, like, how, as a store owner, do you maintain like a safe play space for everybody so that it's an appropriate environment? I know this weekend we had an incident where somebody was using the F word and you came down pretty harsh because we had a kid in the store.
Okay.
How often does that happen, and what kind of efforts do you have to go through as a shop owner to make sure that you have an inviting and safe space?
I do it quite often. And I tell people, you got to present yourself in a certain decorum. You just can't go around dropping the F word all the time. If there's no women in the store or young kids or anything like that, I let it slip once in a while because a lot of it is shop talk, and these guys get excited and everything. But I try to protect my customers, especially the women. They don't need to hear this, and especially the young kids. They probably hear more at school. However, they're not going to hear it here. I don't know if he heard it, if he really paid attention to it, the younger kid. He may have or may not have. But yeah, you have to come down on people just to make them aware that they can't do this kind of stuff in this environment. Maybe other stores allow that, but I'm not going to let it. I've never, allowed it because it's just, you get a reputation as a store, and you don't want to have that reputation.
Yeah.
You got to keep the store clean, whether it's physically clean or as clean as far as an environment that people want to come into.
Yeah.
I mean, that's my philosophy, and I'm sticking with it.
Well, I think that's a good philosophy. And I think another element of it is, you being a seasoned adult.
I'm old.
Yeah. I mean, I also fit into like the older category for playing games.
True.
But, a lot of the people that are playing games, particularly some of these games, are in their mid 20s or even early 20s, and they're still learning how to interact, right? And it's cool when you're amongst your friends maybe to use that kind of language. But like you said, this is a public space. There's a lot of different types of people here. Not everybody believes in using vulgarities and profanity.
No.
And so you have to respect the community and the group that you're in and be respectful to other people. And I think it's good to see on a big scale that Pokemon was willing to enforce their player conduct rules.
Let me ask you a question. The judge that enforced that rule, was he an Olympic judge? Because that one created a lot of controversy too, in that one incident with that the gymnast.
The gymnast thing's still going.
Yeah,
they're going to sue each other. I mean, absolutely. You and I could do our Olympics podcast and talk about that one too, because I still don't understand. I just bluntly, how are you arguing about it if under several of the applications you just didn't win? And they're like, okay, she didn't win, but she's like, well, I'm keeping it. I don't understand. And then like, I get like, well, you're like, well, I did win. But I don't know. It just, the whole thing. Anyway.
Did the Yu-Gi-Oh or the Pokemon guy pull a wedgie too? Then he got deducted points.
Yeah, he tried to pull on something. I don't know. I just think it's been really controversial. Like I said, one of the things, and this could be an issue like in the store with enforcing rules during organized tournament play. The rules have different penalties depending on when and how it happened. And so there's a discussion about whether or not the match was over or whether or not the match was not over. And I think the big controversy is that people have perceived that Pokemon made a decision because they were broadcasting this as the World Championships, and possibly the proper application of the rule was that he gets disqualified instead of a match loss. So he would have won top 8, qualified for top 4 prizing, but then forfeited his top 4 match, and they wouldn't have had a match to show on stream.
Could be. How much money did it cost him?
I don't know.
Potentially.
I didn't look it up. Let me see.
It's probably a lot of money. Well, that's something that 20-year-old kid is going to learn. It's a lesson in life.
Well, because they issued it as a match loss and not as a DQ, he didn't lose. He still gets top 8 prizing, I think, because he lost the top 8 match. Let's see. Prize money.
Well, potentially he could have been in the top 4.
Here it is. 2024 TCG top prizes. First place was $50,000. Second place was $30,000. Third and fourth both got $20,000, and 5th through 8 was $15,000. So he lost $5,000.
Potentially. Well, he could have gotten more though, right?
Well, he could have. Well, no, because they DQ'd him. He wasn't going to be allowed to play his top 4 match.
But if they didn't DQ him, he could have gone on to the top 4 and won up to 50.
Oh yeah,
up to 50.
I mean, he could have won up to 50.
So it's $35,000 that he could have made more.
My point is the rules application problem, whether he lost the top 8 match or the top 4 match, is a $5,000 difference for him.
Okay.
That's because, as far as I understand it, he was given a match loss, not a DQ. If he was DQ'd, he just loses all the prize money. Mm-hmm. That's a huge deal. but they gave him a match loss, and so he still gets paid out as a top 8, but he didn't get to play top 4. And they wanted to broadcast a semifinal match, so they said that he was match lost at the top 8 game before the match ended. The video kind of shows that they had signed the scorecards before he did his thing.
What kind of comment did he have afterwards? Any
Him? His comment?
Yeah. Any response to it?
I don't remember. Let's see.
Be interesting to see if he had a smart ass answer for it, or if he just accepted it like a man. We're still here, people. Noah's investigating.
Yeah, you can. Well, the people that are not watching can see my face look puzzled. Does not say on this thread.
Yeah, we can find it and put it out for next week.
Yeah, I mean, we can figure that out. I think the issue is, yeah, I'll see if I can find what he had to say specifically. I think a lot of people have taken down on both sides of this. Some people are really mad of how it was applied. Some people don't think it was a big deal. But I mean, I think the issue is, like, you have to conduct yourself in a way that is appropriate and professional is the bottom line.
Yeah.
He could have just gone about his business and not done something that was remotely controversial, and he'd still have played to go on. So
it's his own damn fault.
It is. That's the way it
rolls. It is what it is.
All right. Well, let's end the news there, and let's talk about our main topic for today, which sort of ties into this topic of store operation and conduct. But I found an old thread that I wanted to talk about what is the actual cost of running a store, and a part of that thread was about the non-monetary costs, about your time, about your sanity, about what it's like to not be able to take vacations in the same way that other people do. And so I had some discussion questions here that I kind of made a note of and thought that we could run through. I know you said you went ahead and read the thread, so you've got an idea of some of the responses that other people had given. But I was kind of shocked by the thread because a lot of the responses gave the response that, so first of all, I guess, what should we say? The question is put out on Reddit, and it says, LGS owners, what is the cost of opening your own store? Not just monetary value, but life investment.
Right.
And so with that as the framework of a question, people's major response is, don't do it.
From what I've read.
So why do you think that is, John? You've been running a store for a long time. Do you agree with the sentiment, or do you have different thoughts?
No, for the most part. Now, this Reddit thread came out 7 years ago. I've been in business almost 26 now. It was easier 26 years ago. And I think over the course of our podcast from the beginning, I kind of led the way of how things are going and what the pitfalls are and so forth and so on. So this pretty much ties into it for maybe the current situation. It's very tough in this current environment to start any business. And I think reading this, what was it, like 55% of businesses fail?
It's higher than that now.
Yeah, it's higher than that, but this was back in 7 years ago. It was 55%. And some guy said, well, I'm willing to take the 45% gamble. But he's gambling with his life. He's gambling with his livelihood. And, you got to come up with money. In this instance, they say, what, it was $100,000 that you need, and anywhere between $60,000 and $100,000. Well, that wasn't the case for me back 26 years ago. I started out on a shoestring budget, and I did a lot of it myself as far as renovating the store and building display cases and things. So it was easier. However, I did go into credit card debt, and not only in a monetary debt, but we talked about a lifestyle debt. I had to still maintain a household. I still had to mow the lawn. I still had to do this. I still had to do that before I even came to the store. And in the first couple of years, I was open for business 7 days a week. And I was younger then and I was able to do it, but there's no way in hell I could do it now. And it's you got to be real careful in this environment to start a store. And if you don't know what the hell you're doing business-wise, And that's really the key. It doesn't matter if you're the greatest Magic player or the greatest Yu-Gi-Oh player that ever lived, or at least in perception in your mind. Uh, you're you can't open up a store because you're good at something. You have to maintain and operate that business. You may not even be able to play your favorite game. That's pretty much what I read out of this. Now I know you have more questions,
Well, I
but
think one of the questions that you've just touched on, I thought was interesting. I know you don't play any of these games.
I used to. I used to play Pokemon with the kids when they first started. But once I got more involved with more customers coming in, I had to keep getting up and going to the counter
Yeah.
because I didn't have employees. I did it all myself. And I'd be playing and I'd have to say to the guy, "Hey, look, I'm sorry. I got to go take care of, Joe at the counter."
Yeah.
And I was getting up and down, up and down. I said, "That's it. Screw that. I'm not doing this anymore." And I gave it up. And I said, "I just can't play anymore. Somebody has to run the business to take care of people that come in the store.
Well,
They can't stand there wait for me to finish. That's rude."
I think it makes it really hard,
Yeah,
right?
it does.
And the idea that people that run their own store just get to play games all the time, I think is one of the myths that have to be dispelled about running a store. Um, all right, well, let's talk. One of the things that was noted is the cost of time. And we've talked about this a little bit on the
Mhm.
store, some of the hidden costs of all the things that you have to do when the store's closed. Um, but I wanted to talk about specifically the idea that it affects your holiday time and your ability to vacation. So you've run a store pretty much as a sole proprietor with no employees for 20 years.
You're right.
Um, do you feel like the representations in this thread are accurate? That you, as a store owner, can't close the store for a holiday or a weekend because you want to go out of town?
At the beginning, you have to be there all the time, and it's all time consuming. I didn't take vacations for 7 or 8 years, and when my mom passed away, uh, fortunately, I didn't have to close the store because I had some people that volunteered to keep the store open for me, and they did. I mean, it was fantastic. Some of my regular customers, stepped up to the pump and they said, "Hey, we'll go there for you." So I traveled from North Carolina up to New Jersey, did my thing up there, and my son stayed here for a bit until we got closer to her funeral and everything like that. But I just couldn't take the time all the time. And a lot of times I missed out on vacations or holidays. I'm here on holidays, except for like Christmas and things like that, and I'm closed. But you have to be here. I mean, it's your obligation. It's your business to take care of. It's your income. It's it's your baby. You have to take care of it, and it does take a lot of time, and no two ways about it. And getting back to you know, the days that I'm off now, I'm only open up 4 days a week, which is great. I'm an old man and I don't give a damn anymore.
Yeah.
But the days that I'm not here, Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays, I'm here. I'm doing something. Either I'm going to Sam's Club, I'm going to the bank, or I go to Costco, or I go to the personal appointments, eye doctors, shrink doctors, or wherever else doctors I have to go to. You got to have time to do that. You got to have a normal life. And fortunately, I live close now. I don't have to commute 30 something miles to get here. I only live a mile and a half from the store. So it's a little easier for me, but that's a concession to my age. And when I do go away now, I am taking vacations. I have people that uh, will come into the store that run the store for me. But when I'm gone, I'm still on the phone with them. I can get on the cameras and say, you're not doing that right, because it happens. They don't know what the hell they're doing all the time. I'm the only one that knows all the intricacies of the store. I can't train you for a week and then let you run the store and me be gone and something happens and you said, "Oh God, he never showed me how to do that." There's always the little intricacies that you have to learn.
Yeah. I think that's a big deal. And I think it's important to note, that for people that listen to this, possibly thinking they want to open a store, I think they should know that this isn't the type of internet freedom that people talk about with running your own thing.
No.
This is a retail, like social business that has to be open, and it has to be open on times that are otherwise prime times for you to do your own thing.
Right.
Friday nights, Saturday nights, Sundays, holidays,
Mm-hmm.
Thanksgiving week,
Mm-hmm.
like around Christmas time, but not on Christmas Day, spring break,
Mm-hmm.
all these things. And if you're a younger person with a family, it can be difficult to be able to manage that. You can't take your kids to the beach for spring break.
No, and you can't take your young kids into the store either. If you have a young family and your wife decides, hey, take them and get them out of my hair for today, you can't take them into the store. You can on occasion. I used to take my grandson there and we'd play around the store and bounce balls all over the place. But when customers come in, they don't want to see everybody, all these little kids running around if you have a young family and screaming and hollering.
Right.
It's distracting. And I did read on here a lot of the store owners are saying they're working 70 and 80 hours a week.
Yeah.
And that's a pretty, I mean, I know what it was like when I was in my, let's see, 26 years ago. I was about 52 then. And yeah, it was tough.
Yeah. It's a lot of time. Another issue that they brought up is lack of control. So I thought maybe we could talk about this in the sense of how do you mitigate this, but they talk specifically about release schedules, which we've been on for a couple weeks now, the difficulty of all the different release schedules. And then also, how do you handle dud product sales? You know, if they come out with a product that's not Bloomborough for Magic and people aren't jumping all over it, you know, how do you mitigate both of those things? Either the intense release schedule and things overlapping, or bad products.
Lack of control. When you first said lack of control, I thought bladder control because as you get older, you have to take a leak all the time. And
Yeah.
many times I'll say to a customer, I'll be right back. They laugh, they understand. But lack of control of what you can't control, what the manufacturers are going to do. You just can't. They have a schedule. Uh, they're going to come out with product on such and such and such a schedule. Some of the product is great. Some of the product sucks. It's not going to sell. You have to be intuitive to enough and listen to your customers beforehand. There were excitement. There was a lot of excitement about Bloomborough. I think the next Magic set is somewhat of an excitement. It's called Dustmorn.
It's weird.
Yeah, House of Horror or
It's not
something
my
like
thing.
that. I think it's going to go by the way of Murders at Karloff Manor. Tell you the truth.
Very
And
similar themes.
yeah, it wasn't a great set. However, the other one is coming out for holiday, Halloween release. So it may do a little bit better, but this boy is not going to order as much of that as I did for Bloomborough because I listened to my customers in advance. I have hearing aids and I put them up way loud sometimes. And I listen to some of these guys discussing the sets and they're saying, no, this isn't good. This is, they're not going to come out with this. The spoilers are not out yet. If the spoilers come out and it's good, I may increase my order a bit. If it's not good, I'm not going to order as much. And if it's not a good product, that means there's going to be availability for a while with the distributor. So if I don't take a large amount at the beginning and pay, whatever the hell I'm going to pay, $8,000 to $10,000, and then $8,000 of it sits on the shelf, I'm not doing it. I'll take $3,000 or $4,000 of it and let the other $6,000 or $7,000 sit on the distributor shelf. That's my game plan.
Yeah, I think that's a good couple of pieces of advice. Stay informed. Be willing to tell your distributor no if you think that a product's not going to do well. And then, making sure that you are abreast of what's coming through and keeping the store organized in a way that allows you to run the release events and other things for all the different games, even if it's overlapping.
Yeah, you have to. I mean, you have to make concessions in time too. Uh, I'll give you another, for instance, as far as setting up a tournament. I had set up One Piece for Sundays, and a couple of guys said Sunday doesn't work for them. There's another store that's doing it on Sunday. Can you do it on Saturday? So I was able to change the software, the scheduling software that Bandai uses, and I was able to change it back on Saturday, and it appeased those customers. But now I've got Lorcana, I've got Star Wars, I've got Magic Commander, and now I have One Piece all on Saturday. So it's a staggered start,
Yeah.
12, 2, 3, and so forth and so on.
You had good turnout for Commander this week too.
It does. Yeah, it is.
Um, let's
That's
talk.
that's because we did the Commander Bloomberg
Yeah.
Commander party.
Yep. Let's talk about online competition for a second. One of the things that the article or series of question and answers highlighted about difficulties with starting a store was the online market. And we've talked a couple of times about how you don't do online. You're not shipping, at least. You have an online platform. You can place an order for pickup in store. And we've talked, I think, about your decision to do that. But why don't you talk from the perspective of a brand new store about how to avoid competing with the internet? Because I think that's a losing battle.
No, you can't avoid competing with it, but yeah, you have to compete with it in somewhat. You have to be smart about it. You're never going to be able to compete with price,
Right?
Because they don't have a lot of overhead. You, as a store owner, have overhead. Okay, the guy that's selling from home is selling from his garage or his basement, and that's his overhead. It's built into his mortgage or it's built into his rent. So he can offer something for $20, and if you sell it for $20, you're not going to make any money, and you got to be able to pay your overhead. Uh, that's it's a slippery slope. You got to make the decision whether you want to do it or whether you don't want to do it. But if you're going to do it, you're going to need more help because you can't do it all yourself, and more help is going to cost you more money. I know there's a lot of stores that go all to these events and they rent space and and they move. It's just like going to the flea market. You have to bring your stuff there. You have to sell your stuff. Then you have to bring it home, and it's a hassle. There was a guy who used to sell sports cards. He's still selling sports cards. He's got a store in the other side of Raleigh, and he would go out there every Friday to set up. He'd be there Saturday and Sunday, and when he first started, he had to do it. He had to compensate and make some money additional as a side hustle to support his store because he wasn't getting enough business in his store. He was younger then, but he had people to help him too, and he had to pay that help. So
Yeah.
it's damned if you do, it's damned if you don't. It's a personal decision.
Why don't we talk for a second about social emotional health? Um, is it difficult to be a sole proprietor store owner when you have to deal with negative or difficult customers?
Yeah, but you develop a thick skin after a while. Uh, it's no different than these online trolls that post things on YouTube about certain people. Sometimes I engage it, sometimes I don't. If they really piss me off, I engage it and I go right back at them. And I'm to the point where I don't care if they ever come back. They could badmouth me. I've had a couple people badmouth me before, and I've seen some posts about it, and I didn't engage it. But they did come in the store a couple of years later, and I called them out on it, and I threw them the hell out of the store. Uh, one or two customers that you don't want in the store anymore is not really going to hurt your bottom line. It really isn't. Your whole thing is you can't let people try to put one over on you because it's going to affect your good customers. They're going to look at it and say, hey, he's doing this. He's not protecting us as an entity. And you just can't have that.
Yeah. How do you deal with the criticism that I can get it cheaper somewhere else?
Go ahead. Go do it. I don't care. I mean,
Do you think you're able to confidently say that because you've been doing this for a long time?
yeah, I mean,
You don't have a big loan that you've taken out to start the business.
No.
If you were a new store and you had taken like a small business loan or something and you're trying to make sure you can make your payments and people are coming in trying to haggle you on your price, do you think that is something that they need to be prepared for in terms of how to deal with that mentally and not become discouraged?
No, I mean, you got to deal with it if you want to make some money. I mean, sometimes I'll go back on the price of an individual card, but it depends upon the person and how they approach me. However, I can't let that happen all the time because everybody else will come into the store and see that happening, and naturally, everybody wants to get something at a better price. However, I always tell them, you're using the point system. You can't, you just can't hit me up double. In other words, if you want to use, 200 points to get $10 off, I'm not going to give you an extra $5 off that card and then give you a $10. Either one or the other, and they understand. But
Yeah.
that's the value of. Oh, I get a lot of people come in, teacher discounts, point system I use, military discounts, point system. If you sign up for the point system, you'll get a better discount. And they kind of look at me until I explain the system, and then they understand what I'm talking about. Everybody's out to get that. Do you get a discount at Walmart? Hell no.
Well, if you have Walmart Plus,
Well,
no,
whatever.
I'm kidding.
Yeah, whatever.
You can self-check out yourself while you walk around the store.
Mm-hmm.
People try that here, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right. I guess final question about the article, and then we'll move on to our last couple of segments of the episode. But you mentioned it earlier. Some of the estimated costs. People said you need $60,000 to $100,000 to be able to start a store. I know that you've talked about it today, that you started the store with very little and you used credit card debt to finance it. If people were trying to start a store today and you had to give them just a rough guess of like dollars they should have available to do that, what's the number?
50,000 minimum.
Okay.
And that includes deposits on rent, other fees. You're going to have to make a deposit on your gas and electric, on your, all that kind of stuff. And then you're going to have to buy product, and they're saying a minimum, dependent upon the store size, a minimum of $20,000 to $30,000 in product. That doesn't buy you a hell of a lot of product. If you really think about it, it doesn't. That may fill one or two shelves up.
Well, not with the numbers we've talked about, particularly with like a new set release costing $10,000 to $15,000 to stock the store.
Yeah, but see, you don't even know your market then. If it's a new store, suppose there's another store 10 miles away, and you're trying to compete with that store 10 miles away. Well, you're not automatically going to get that customer base from that store because they've been dealing with that store for God only knows how many years. You have to create your own base of customers, and it takes time. So buy what you need to get started. Don't overbuy, because you're liable to sit with it with a lot of dust on it for a while, or it maybe forever, unless you put it on the internet and sell it for. A lot of people do that. They'll sell it for what they paid for it, less than they paid for it, just to get rid of it, to get more money to turn it over. However, you're not making any money, and you got bills to pay.
Yeah. Well, I think those are all important considerations, and I think it's a good thing to think about when people are trying to start a store.
Yeah, so, and you cannot put all your money into the business. Say you had $50,000 to invest. You got to pocket $5,000 of that for emergencies, because emergencies do happen.
Right.
And a lot of people, they don't realize, maybe even a personal emergency that they have to shell out some money for.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of different contingencies that we've talked about before, and we'll talk about again later in other episodes. But I think, like you said, $50,000 minimum, and expecting it to be maybe even more than that.
Well, it depends upon the size store that you want to open.
Yeah.
I mean, that guy down in Atlanta that opened a mega store.
What, $4 million?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he had investors in it.
But he's got like the coolest internet videos too.
He does. However, $4 million is $4 million.
It gets you a lot of stuff, huh?
Yes, it will.
All right. Let's jump over and do our 3 E's, John. You said you brought some stuff today for us to talk about.
I didn't bring a lot. Right now, we're almost at an hour as far as, I have some things about.
Well, we did have the pre-roll stuff, so it's probably under an hour. But for those that don't know, John likes to share with us what we call the 3 E's, where we educate, enlighten, and entertain. If you haven't found the episode up to this point, educating and entertaining, we're sorry, but you are mistaken. And we think that John's going to give us a chance here to educate us in a way that's not related directly to the business of card stores.
I had somebody the other day, David.
Yeah.
I love your Snapple facts.
He would.
So I doubled down on Snapple facts today. I've got 4 of them.
David, if you're listening,
Yeah,
I love you.
I'm sure
Thank you.
he listens all the time. He's up to date.
I've asked. I introduced him to the podcast.
I
I'm
see
glad
that. He mentioned that. He stopped me outside, so that's good.
That's good. We got to keep up the good word. Spread
All
the
right.
word.
Snapple fact number 694. Spiny lobsters migrate in groups of 50 or more, forming a conga line on the ocean floor. Can you imagine that?
A 50 lobster Congo line?
50 groups of 50 or more.
No, I got distracted by the fact that this is Snapple Cap number 694, and I feel some sort of a weird compulsion to go find the first 693. But, okay, back to this fact. So lobsters
Form a conga line.
like a line of hip holding grandmas.
Yeah, that's it. I wonder if their conga line is Spanish, isn't it, or
yeah,
Mexican?
but it's the thing that all the grandmas do at the weddings, right?
I think so.
Yeah, they go around the room.
Yeah,
all the kids get up and jump on the line and then cha cha cha.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Well, lobsters do that. I'm going to have to find a video of that.
Of the lobsters?
I'm going to have to
or the grandmas?
Well, not the grandmas. The hell with the grandmas. They're too old for me. But all right. Snapple fact number 705.
Okay.
Every ton of recycled paper saves about 17 trees.
What?
That's what it says. 17 trees. A ton of recycled paper. And every time, on the credit card machine, I have the option most of the time to say to a customer, do you want a copy of this credit card? Some of them will say yes, some of them will say no. Those that I say yes to, I rip the damn thing off. And I say, all right, you just killed part of a tree.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Snapple fact number 732.
Okay.
What is the closest living relative of a Tyrannosaurus Rex?
It's a bird. A vulture.
Nope. Take another guess.
Falcon. Chicken?
It's chicken. Yeah. The chicken is the closest living relative of Tyrannosaurus Rex. If you think about it, yeah. They don't have front, they just had the bottom legs, right?
Well, they got little hands.
I have a joke about that, but I'm not going to say anything.
Please don't.
I'll leave the best one for last.
Okay.
Snapple fact number 785. Which finger has the fastest growing nail?
Pinky. Yeah. John,
that's why I give it to Ben.
you're going to mess up my video for YouTube.
No, that's legal. I didn't say anything.
It's the video.
Oh, that's a hand gesture. Oh, get that judge
You're
from.
going to be suspended and kicked out of this
You
tournament.
can say that. You can do that.
Oh my gosh.
But that is. I don't have a lot today.
Good.
Let me see. Do these things today. Be safer tomorrow. And there's a couple of things that I pulled out of it, but I'm going to read one. Audit your wallet or purse. That means remove cards and information you don't need to carry, such as your Social Security or medical insurance, Medicare card, and so forth and so on. And make copies of everything you do need to carry, front and back, and store it in a safe place at home. And this is one of the things for a safer tomorrow. And I'll read the rest of them next week when we have more time.
Okay.
Right.
I think that's a good piece of advice people don't think about, but there's a lot of things in your life you should audit regularly.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's wrap it up with this week then. I think this was a good episode. I appreciate you engaging in the question and answers off of this old thread this week.
I hope it recorded properly since we are having all those.
Well, we did eliminate one of the pieces of technology for this week, which will create a different perspective for our Patreons. But let's wrap it up by giving some thanks. We're grateful to everybody that's listened to this point in this episode and to our other episodes. We're excited to have you listening to us and hope that if you've enjoyed the show that you'll like, subscribe, and follow us on all the different platforms. You can currently find the show on Spotify, iTunes, and YouTube. And you can follow us on social media at Card Shop Insiders on Instagram and X. We'd like to take a second to acknowledge our Patreon patrons, Ben, Grant, Brandon, Logan, Drayden, and Drake. Thank you so much for supporting our efforts through Patreon. And if you would like to interact with the show more or have questions that you'd like to see converted or covered in future episodes, the Patreon would be a great way to join up and to send messages for us to consider and answer. But you can also use the YouTube channel to share comments on our latest episodes. If you are able and interested to support us financially, we would welcome you to join us on Patreon, where the basic tier subscription includes access to a behind-the-scenes video that has John and I discussing things before and after our recording each week. And that comes out early, so it's technically an early access behind-the-scenes video each week that you get. And we're open to hearing other suggestions from people about what they'd like to see as benefits to the Patreon. Until we come back next week, though, thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next week behind the counter.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate you listening.